All right, we'll call this meeting to order. If you would join me in a flag salute. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Brian, would you join us at the podium, please, to lead us in prayer?
My pleasure.
Let's pray. Dear Lord, we come before you to humble ourselves to serve the greater good. And your Son taught us that we are to unite. And this is a time where we come together to unite and to find common good and to find a best path forward. And you call us to love one another. And you remind us that with God as our Father, we are all brothers and sisters. And I just ask your blessing over this meeting, that could be done in that spirit and in that way. And we love you and we thank you in Christ's name. Amen.
Thank you.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Brian.
Roll call?
Don Taylor, Jeff Cobalt,
Here.
Kyle Mecklenburg.
Here.
Jeff Whitrock.
Here.
Tammy Sammons. Here.
We have a quorum, so the first item on the agenda is item 2A, discussion and possible action to rescind the action taken on September the 8th, 2025 regarding the requested zoning change for property located at 1000 South Street, South Main Street. Do we have a motion to consider?
I understand this motion is to rescind the previous vote only at this point. So I will motion that we move forward with the rescind of the property rezoning on September the 8th, 2025.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay.
Can I ask just for the public's education on why the motion has been put on here and why we're considering this?
For sure. Jeff, you made the motion. Do you want to answer that?
I think after reconsidering, or after seeing what took place, after seeing the 1000 South Main Street sit as it is, I feel in my hat, I don't think it's going to be residential again. So I think it's time to reconsider it being commercial. I'll leave it at that.
Any further comment?
I mean, can we just to make sure we put it on record that at the time that this was originally taken up, that Commissioner Sammons was just that night voted on or
Installed.
appointed.
Yeah.
And didn't have quite all the information that she felt comfortable with in making an educated decision one way or the other, so she abstained herself with that. I mean, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, Commissioner, but I think it's important to understand that now that you've had time to look at the situation and everything, that we should have an opportunity to rescind this one so that we can look at it again and so that you could be a part of that, feel like you're a part of that, however you decide to vote one way or the other. Be more of a educated on the situation so that you can vote one way or the other. Is that fair?
Fair. There were a lot of missing pieces, and I'm not sure at that time the presentation gave a representation of exactly what all was taking place, what all was at hand, and I definitely did not feel comfortable, as I abstained from multiple ones that night too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, this motion is just to rescind the vote on the item. It's not approving or denying the item at all. It's just
Correct.
opening that item up for a possible revote or discussion.
Right. Next item on the agenda, if this is approved, will be
Right.
to consider that, reconsider.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure, put that all out there real quick,
Yep.
so everybody understood what was going on.
Yep. So we have a motion and a second. Any further comments, discussions? Okay. So item A is passed to reconsider that agenda item. So item B is the agenda item 1. So discussion and possible action to approve the recommendation from Planning and Zoning to grant C4 zoning 1000 South Street, Maine. I'll invite Linda Garcia to come up and give your perspective on that, if you would, at the podium, please.
So my recommendation is that we continue forward with our planning map and zoning map as we have it. And then if we want to readdress that and come to make some changes for the city, that's what we should do. Rather than, like I said earlier, continue down that road of spot zoning. Because each time you do that, you're creating a little bit more chaos every time you're not following a plan. And you can be shown or seen or appear to be favoring one party. And I think that's not something that the city wants to tackle. The other thing I want to make clear is there seems to be a misunderstanding. When we're doing zoning, we're not doing permits, right? Those are two different items. So this idea that we need to see the building and what it's going to look like and be okay with that design is not part of zoning. That is two different things. So once a person gets the zoning, they can do whatever they want. They can come with all kinds of plans and promises, but what they actually do is up to them. That they're not obligated to follow a plan that they may have proposed. They're not obligated to put the type of building or the type of business that they have proposed. So I think we need to separate out zoning from building permits, right? And considering design, considering use and occupancy. Those are two different things. We have to keep planning as planning, zoning as zoning, right? And building as a separate thing. So just remember, when we go to move to accept some type of zoning, we are taking every single item that is a permitted use, and we're accepting that. So that's my recommendation, is that we maintain our plans as is, and it would be a great time to reconsider our zoning maps. I don't think it's going to take a long time, and I don't think that we're going to hold up a whole lot of businesses here. But I think that's the smart way forward, and to avoid the appearance of favoritism towards a business or another.
Okay. Any questions of Linda?
I don't.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Baumbach?
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Kurt Bollenbach. I'm a local business owner, a longtime resident, even though I don't live here anymore, and a friend of the city of Kingfisher. Just to resolve any clarity, I was the one that made the request that these both, I think the board was maybe considering it anyway, but I was the one that made a request to reconsider this particular issue, and then also the issue that's coming up on item number 2. I sent each of you a letter that kind of lays out basically my justification. I can go over that if you would like, or you guys have the information in front of you as far as the economic impact, the obvious change in that area of the city compared to whenever it was originally zoned. I definitely understand the last presenter's comments regarding spot zoning. At the same time, I live in Oklahoma City now. You're in downtown. There's clear, massive developmental planning and zoning that goes on with a very uniform plan. In a small town, it's just different. In other words, where you have people that often are single developers, as in they're going to develop this one piece of property, and over time, there's not exactly a master plan that kind of goes along with it. We have to use people's judgments. I get not wanting to favor one person over the other, but the reality is folks just kind of justify their position whenever they come to you and say, hey, here's the reason that I'm doing this. Does that fit into the ration of what's going on in the city? In this particular one, I agree with the last presenter that this is about zoning and not building. Mr. Matthews can build whatever it would be within, when I say Mr. Matthews and Mr. Piles could build whatever's in C4 after this, so long as there's not some other reason they can't and it doesn't violate our building codes. So, you know, for those of us that have been in this community, that house was an icon. I mean, literally, it's what people saw or thought of as they're coming into our town. 100 years, unfortunately, took its toll, and it's not ever going to be residential again. A C4 commercial. After I went through and I ticked off all the things, and I'm like, is there anything that doesn't seem appropriate there? And if I was looking at it, it all seems very appropriate. Do you have any reason that you need for me to regurgitate what I put in my letter, or we can move on? We good?
So. Anybody?
Thank you very much. I appreciate your consideration.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Walters, do you want to speak in regards to this?
Yeah, I'm happy to speak. I have not been involved in this line item as I have line item C, but I have been very involved, and I appreciate the opportunity, Mayor. So thank you for allowing me this moment to speak. Perhaps everyone knows me, but for the record, I am Brian Walter. These are prepared remarks, and that's how they're going to come across. I'm a longtime Kingfisher resident. I'm owner of Walter Building Center. I hope my record of service speaks for itself, but please know I love this community dearly. I promise at the outset to do my very best to respect and honor the dignity of everyone involved in these matters tonight. My comments are intended to be reflective of a wide portion of our citizens. If you feel they are not, please see them as my own responsibility. But if my words ring true to you for our community, please see them as comments from that wide community, not merely from myself. We are faced with a controversy that has pitted a residential developer against our city government. I'm speaking specifically out there to the residential development. There has been much emotion and consternation on both sides. Much to my surprise, I feel like God placed me in the middle of this controversy this past week. I'll pause. Placed me in the middle of this controversy this past week to play the role of a Christian peacemaker, and I have put my heart and soul into that role over the last 7 days. It has been a tough ride at times, but by God's grace, I see an opening for healing relationships and a genuine desire to come together to move forward. If this proves to be true, please give the credit to Jesus himself, because he is the only one that has the ability to create such an incredible turnaround in the hearts of minds and people in such a short time. There are good people on both sides of this issue. There are people that love our community on both sides of this issue. Let me pause to thank each of you currently serving on this commission for your willingness to serve this community in this capacity. It is a job that is often thankless. Inappropriately, in my opinion, it is a job that pays only a very little, and yet it's a job that needs mature, intelligent people like yourselves and serves a vital role in our community. I will save it for a later date, but I hope to argue at some point in the not too distant future that it is time that we address the ridiculously low compensation that you receive. I see each of you as selfless servants with high moral character and strong Christian values. On behalf of our entire community, I want to thank each of you for your willingness to serve. It's not easy. And I want to offer a special word of thanks to our mayor, Jeff Cobalt. Jeff, you are a talented and capable leader. You have shown steady leadership for our community in this difficult time. Now, please know, I've known Mike Matthews for a long period of time. I have watched personally as Mike has transformed himself from a young, inexperienced, but determined entrepreneur into a self-made man with considerable wealth through creativity, persistence, risk-taking, and old-fashioned hard work. Mike has chosen to make his home and raise his family in Kingfisher. Mike has a love for this community, just as you and I do. For the record, I like Mike Matthews. And I think you would too. If you don't already, if ever you have the opportunity to get to know him in a time and place where he is not under the stress that he has been in these past months. I encourage you to reach out to him to get to know him better. Because in an hour of need, I would argue that there is no better friend than Mike Matthews. He would drop what he's doing at any point to do anything for you if you need him to. Mike truly cares about people in our community, particularly those with limited means. In creating this new neighborhood, Mike, as a residential developers always do, has placed himself and his family at considerable risk to better our community. Residential development is vital to our community and to any community that wants to be vital, viable, and attractive to new families. In large cities, residential development is typically done by large corporations. In our community, the same large corporations have no desire to come in and put new residential development because they know the cost is large and the payoff will be slow. To attract an investor who is willing to risk such a large sum of money knowing the payoff will be slow, you need someone with an emotional connection to our community. Looking back on Kingfisher's history, residential development has always been done here by someone who has that emotional connection. You need someone willing to act in a sacrificial way with millions of dollars, and that is not easy to find. The point I'm striving to make is I feel that we as citizens, and you all as our government officials, need to reset our thinking regarding the individuals and families that step forward to make high-quality residential developments happen in our community. While there have been others, the two who have been the most active over the last decade are Hello, Don.
Hello. Excuse me while I walk
Yeah,
up on
certainly.
you.
Yeah, we're glad you're here. The two that have been the most active over the last decade or so are the Mike Matthews family and the Mecklenburg family. At the time they started their developments, neither of these families were motivated by profit. Both of these families created new, high-quality residential developments because they love our communities. I speak in terms of families because they are families. Tonight is not just Mike Matthews we're talking about. It's Mike Matthews and his wife Amanda. It's Mike Matthews and his children. Like the Mecklenburg family, the Matthews have the means to live anywhere, but they choose to live here. They have raised their families here. They hope their kids will raise their kids here. What makes these families different from most of the families in our community is their willingness and ability to invest millions of dollars to make residential development happen and happen in a high-quality way in our community. I suggest that we collectively as a community need to pause long enough to realize that we owe them a debt of gratitude. And I hope going forward from this day, we as citizens will be more mindful of that. And I hope that our government of officers, which you all are, adopt a new policy on this particular issue. Our community has a past history of providing the residential electrical infrastructure that is at the heart of this controversy. In 2018, our city adopted a new ordinance regarding this. The ordinance, as approved, gives you, as our officers, the option but not the obligation to charge for that infrastructure, or you cannot charge for that infrastructure. It allows that the reason that you might not want to charge for that infrastructure is when, and I quote here, in the event that a new addition or extension of the electrical distribution system would, in the sole discretion of the city, provide a significant economic benefit to the city. So the true question here is whether you, as our city officials, feel that this project offers enough benefit to warrant waiving these charges. Let's be clear. Waiving these charges for a high-quality residential development such as this is being pro-business. Waiving these charges is recognizing that the city itself stands to gain through sales tax revenue for the construction itself. Waiving these charges recognizes that we are helping ourselves by helping to build homes that will benefit our city through increased electric sales in these homes for at least the next 100 years. And waiving these charges is pro-family by decreasing the debt burden for the young families that will be moving into these homes. And Lord knows, it's tough enough already on young families to make ends meet. In my mind, there is no question that this addition provides significant economic benefit and warrants the waiving of these charges. I encourage each of you tonight to be pro-business, be pro-young families, and pro the betterment of Kingfisher. Your vote tonight to waive these charges is not about saying yes or no to Mike Matthews personally. Your vote to waive these charges is about moving past this controversy to start construction and the flow of sales tax revenue associated with the construction of these homes. Your vote to waive these charges is about removing this impediment to progress so that as our leaders, you can focus your attention on our infrastructure and other urgent needs. Your vote tonight is to waive these charges is doing nothing more than our city has done in the past and all the other utilities in our area are still currently doing. Your vote to waive these charges is saying that the city of Kingfisher is a partner in its own progress. I thank you for your time, and I urge you to vote to waive these charges so that we can all move forward together. Thank you.
Kind of jumped ahead, so I apologize for putting you on in B, but in regards to that.
I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Any questions, comments?
I have one more comment to share for the rest of them that are here that were not at September's meeting for the rezoning. There was lots of things that we found in that meeting, I think, or at least I did. The plots around 1000 South Main were still considered residential, and we brought that up with Linda. That needs to be addressed. We, as the city, need to address that. We need to make sure that we capture all of the plots that are being used for commercial. We need to get them rezoned to commercial. We've got a whole bunch of stuff down Main Street that is still residential. It has been used for 20, 30 plus years as commercial. So we will hopefully take care of that in the future, but I just want to make that known for the record that we did call that out in the last meeting, so.
Any other questions, comments?
I also want to say in the document that was sent by Kurt Bolenbach, there was to us that a lot of people haven't seen. There were 3 pages of questions we had addressed, concerns that we that had not been addressed previously: lighting, water, sewer, storm, parking, access, those types of things that we had been desiring answers for. So that was one thing that makes me more equipped to also, when Kyle said last time, you know, have the information in front of us to be able to make an informed decision.
Yep. Any comments, other?
No, my stance on this state remains the same as it was in September. I can appreciate, and I to a degree agree with Linda as far as the need for an updated zoning master plan for the community. The last one, I believe, was in 2004, 20 plus years ago. Our community has changed. The expectation of our citizens has changed in 20 years, as it naturally should. And therefore, I think that it's definitely, I think one of the positives that this is going to be, this has brought out, other than just the situation itself, is that need for us to invest in the time and the resources to get that master plan done, so that when situations like this come up in the future, we know how to handle it, and we're not doing spot zoning, and we're not having these same types of discussions. I think it's important to do that. Although I agree that it needs to be done, I don't know that I'm willing at this point, like I mentioned in the last meeting, to hold up progress and hold up development based on our timeline of getting something like that done whenever we have a reputable developer that is willing to put the time and the money and the effort in making a development that I think, in my opinion, is an appropriate spot to make that happen. So.
Okay.
My opinion hasn't really changed much, also from September.
Sure.
And that was that the area that we're discussing is residential, and the businesses that have been there for 20, 30 years reference to do so in a residential scheme of things. Like if they were to move out of their business, somebody can move in and raise their family in those buildings, their houses. So same as our some of our other structures around town that have businesses coming out of them. They're houses, and therefore someone could go in there and have a house, someone could go in there and have a business. But also, I think the thing that happens with it being residential and them having a business out of it is then the businesses that are in there kind of maintain somewhat of a smaller footprint. Like, they don't have hours that are excessive or into the night. They don't have businesses that cause a lot of commotion or traffic. They don't have general things that are going on that also butts up against the fact that it's a residential area. So I think that's important. I think I am one for definitely diversifying how our businesses are. I think we have a lot of property outside of that little small area that probably would make a lot more sense for what has been discussed, the little bit minimum that's been discussed of what will be put there or could be put there, because I don't think whatever business goes in right now might not be the business that's there 10, 15 years from now. So I'm thinking about what we're doing to preserve and then create an area so families that are after we leave this commission can easily go, okay, this is where I put a house, this is where I put a business, and so on and so forth. So that didn't really change for me. All the calamity and chaos and stuff that's going on about these two subjects doesn't really change how I see it for me either. This morning I had a conversation and someone said that the builder we're discussing may not deserve love, but we should give them love. Therefore, I assumed meant grace. But strangely enough, I don't think any of us deserve love or a great treatment. That's just our status as humanity. I think once we start thinking we get to choose who deserves anything, it borders on a scary place of also choosing who doesn't deserve. So I think we're all in the same boat, and we all should be treated on an equal basis. And therefore, it shouldn't be about how someone acts or how they present themselves or what they got backing them up or what they do for anybody else. I think everybody should be treated the same way regardless. So I think if we were to take a mousy, quiet, offending developer who came to us with the same situation, would we then also want to change things? Or once we told them no and they went on about their business, would we be okay with it? I think about things like that because, again, I appreciate that Kingfisher is the type of community that small businesses can thrive, that they don't have to worry about, big franchises and chains coming in here, and that's all we know. I love that we have businesses that are owned by people that we see at the grocery store or that we, see at baseball games and things of that nature. So I'm about that too, and I think it just makes sense to have residential area where it's residents and business areas where it's more all business. That's my thought on the zoning thing. So it hasn't really changed much. And it has nothing to do with who, when, where, why, or how. I'm that type of person anyways. I'm very consistent on how I think about things, so it doesn't really matter what the situation is or who's around when they ask me the question. But why I got this microphone and these 2 cents, I know that I only have one opinion. My opinion is small when it comes to the percentage of how other people see things. And whatever is done this evening, I would like to put it for that builder, however he leaves this situation, to think about our community. And if he's really interested in investing in our community, in November, we're going to have vulnerable members of our community that are going to be without groceries. They're going to be without ways to feed themselves and their families. And this little extra possible money he's going to get to save would be lovely if he used it to actually invest in the community as a whole and help that situation. But yeah, I think however we treat the least should be how we treat those who are seen as the greatest. So if we're gonna do one thing for one group of people or whatever, we should do the same thing for everyone else.
Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the recommendation of the P and Z to grant C4 zoning for 1000 South Main Street.
Do I have a second?
I will second with also knowledge of P and Z passed this months ago at I think a 4-1 vote. So I kind of stance with P and Z. I try not to go against P and Z. They're there for a reason. We've got them in that manner for that reason. So I will second.
Okay.
I didn't bring mine, so I'm gonna give you my vote when you're ready.
Dawn.
Nay.
That sound is disrupting everything. So sorry. It's knocking everything off. It passed. I'm sorry. It passed.
Motion carries. Item B is approved. Item C is the discussion possible action to approve a waiver of electric distribution system installation fees upon request of the city manager as authorized by section 12-4-11G of the Kingfisher City Code. Mr. Ballenbach, do you want to?
Thank you. In addition, I appreciate that the city manager made this request. I also made the request in the letter that I sent to each of you. I will run through some of my comments to make sure that some of the justification, the way I see it on why we would waive or not charge on some utility expansion on why we would do it. And I hope that my information kind of helps do that. Hannah's Place is a single phase 77 home subdivision west of the Methodist Church. Single phase being we're doing it all at one time. That is not normally common in developments of that size, and I appreciate that all the lots are available to folks on day one. The proposed homes in Hannah's Place will be at a target price of between $280,000 and $400,000, and will directly address the shortage of quality, attainable middle-class housing in Kingfisher. That is something we have. A lot of lower-end homes, we have a lot of higher-end homes, and there's a massive disconnect for those folks in the middle, and this development targets that exactly. Some background and context, as Mr. Walter said, there was a change in the city ordinance back in 2018 that allowed for the city to charge for reimbursement of certain public utility expansion. In this case, Mr. Matthews' son Hayden, Mr. Pyle, those are all guys that are working on this. I'll call them the Matthews Development Group. And MDG was unaware of this change. Mr. Matthews has done a number of developments in the area. He followed the same process as he did before and was unaware of that. Ignorance of the law is no defense. Nevertheless, the city's process also was the same as it had been historically, where the city also wasn't letting Mr. Matthews know the scope of work that they were going to be doing and the estimated cost associated with it. And basically, we didn't have a true meeting of the minds where everybody just wasn't on the same page. We were on the same page to install it. We weren't on the same page. And again, this is based on everything I've been talking to both sides. And that's kind of my understanding of what happened. Real quick as well, just to make sure it's clear, I do not represent either the city or Mr. Matthews or the Matthews Development Group. Even though I'm an attorney, I don't practice, so I just wanted that to be clear. Notwithstanding that there was a miscommunication between the parties, Hannah's Place does represent a massive economic development for the city of Kingfisher and will positively impact the overall quality of life in our community. each of the homes can be expected to generate approximately $9,500 in total sales tax revenue during the construction phase. This is not a scientific study. It's back in the napkin math. I went online, came up with some using some estimates. You can see my math in the back of that letter, but basically it will be about $9,500 per house that it should be generated in sales tax. Additionally, there will be, you can see my calculations from the IRS code calculator, where approximately every household with $100,000 AGI, that was what I estimated for people that will move into these homes, those individuals generally spend about $2,200 a year. You cut that in half, where people are spending half their money in our town, that's an additional somewhere between $80,000 and $100,000 that our city will receive every year by these residents. And even if those are residents that already live in Kingfisher, somebody else will move in. And that will generate revenue for our city. We will generate revenue through the sale of electricity to each one of those houses. And a big win for our community, while not directly affecting city government, it does affect us as a whole. Homes averaging $340,000 times 77 homes. Over time, when it fills up, that's an additional $26 million in ad valorem tax, our property tax base. That's massive. Those monies fund our fire departments, our schools. And so that is a easily economically justifiable reason that this request to waive the utility expansion would be justified. So I say these things, given the above information that I just stated, the lack of clear communication among all concerned, the low risk to the city, there's not a risk that we are going to give someone essentially an aid in construction or some kind of TIF, tax incremental financing, and the project doesn't get completed. It's already done. We know it's going to happen. We know homes are ready to go in to these locations, so we'll get a quick return. We have a low risk. In the clear benefit to the citizens of our community to have these homes in this area, in this price point, I respectfully request the city waive in full the reimbursement invoice that the city has issued to the Matthews Development Group for the Hannah's Place electrical infrastructure expansion. Additionally, I hope this doesn't set any precedent. This is just the city using the way the code is written to go through and make a intelligent analysis. And I hope we can go and put maybe a more formal process in place where whenever a developer comes to the city, we know from the beginning, hey, I'm going to request some TIF whenever it's related to this development project. It may help drive development projects. And so I hope we can develop as a city a process that assists in these economic drivers. Is there anything based on the information that I provided that I might be able to expand on?
Any questions?
So your back of the napkin math.
Yes.
How much million did you say it was?
26 million, that's
26 million. So how many other housing additions already exist with the Matthews Development Group?
the Matthews Development Group did, I believe it's called Hayden's Place. I know they did a bunch of them out on Lucinda Lane. I can't give you all of Mike's history.
Oh,
but,
so you don't really know just in general how much millions that gave us?
Well, I didn't go, and I could, if I would take the time, I could go to Hayden's Place. And it's not millions to the city,
Right.
it's total property tax value. Mr. Matthews, how many homes are in Hayden's Place? 20?
120.
20? If it was 20, I'm guessing those homes, I know at least a recent home that sold, 30? 32. A recent home that sold in the area was Zach Kennedy's. It was $380,000. It was to a family that was not in our area. They moved in and bought it, I think, within 3 days of Zach posting it. So $380,000. Let's say that's an average there, times 30 homes. That would be well in excess of $10 million of total value that would
Right.
benefit our
I'm
community.
just, you did some back of napkin math for proposed stuff. I was just wondering if you did what actually already exists.
I did not.
Oh.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't
Just curious.
For my purpose, I didn't see that as relevant, but it,
Oh, well, I thought that would be probably good information, considering that's what we're considering, right, is like the benefit, the financial benefit, and we already have housing additions, so therefore, what benefit it already gave us.
Sure.
Might
sure, and if it was,
kind of see that.
sure.
Like you came up with 10 million.
10,
right?
yeah, it would be 10 million times, I think Kingfisher's property tax rate is about just under 0.6%. So, you know, I haven't gone through and,
Are we kind of assuming
Looked at-
that this is gonna increase our population?
it will increase, regardless of population, it will increase the property tax base. There's no way around that. I think Kerry Turner would probably be thrilled to have an additional 77 homes in Kingfisher. That will adjust the tax base regardless.
But the other properties, the other developments so far have not been this large.
I am
Can I say?
I am
is that
unaware that any have been this
assumption?
large.
Yeah, I don't
None of them are this
Mike was
large?
32 and this one's 74, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is,
Yeah, I
But
mean,
The
it's,
other one,
basically
Highland
double.
West was
Yeah.
50.
yeah,
because you know,
Something like that.
we've had the discussion several times in the last couple of years that nothing's really changed much about our population or our money, so I was just wondering.
as someone that, there are a number of employees at our company, and one of the largest restrictions to people moving to Kingfisher is affordable housing that is housing of the quality that they are used to.
So how much are these houses probably gonna be?
They'll be somewhere in the neighborhood of $280,000 to $400,000.
That's affordable?
I'm not saying affordable as in low income or Section 8.
No, the ones who you were saying, you were quoting like as.
Oh, as in
percentage of
Hayden
people
Place?
Who say that they don't move here because they don't have affordable, is that the range that?
Yes,
they're
that would be,
looking for?
yeah, that would be someone that works at a company like ours, that would be the range. A lot of people would live in Vanco, Hayden's Place, Francis Edition. And those are the homes that, I mean, they sell, someone who has bought and sold
Yeah.
quite a few homes in our community, those are desirable homes.
So that's the price range you're saying that people who have yet to move into our community are looking for?
I think that would be
What's
a
the
very-
average of the homes that are here now? The reason they're not moving here?
I think more of it is not just the price, but what you get for the price. Kingfisher housing, what I would call the lower third, is extremely expensive. For what you get, you don't get a lot for $150,000 in Kingfisher compared to if you're in Piedmont for $150,000. They're based on the homes that I had a house in Francis Edition was $250,000, and to be honest, that same home in Surrey Hills would be $170,000. And so people pay a lot for the lower it goes, the more they pay. There are not homes in mass that people can move into that are in that $250,000 to $400,000 range. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, and wouldn't you say that to me, this addition addresses that, because that's driven by supply and demand.
Correct.
And there's just not much supply in this town, so what there is brings a premium.
That's right.
So when you add more homes like this, as you add supply, that lowers demand,
Sure.
which lowers
So what's the
price.
median income of a family that you assume is circling our borders to move in?
Sure. I can give you statistically, the median income in Oklahoma, I believe, for a family is in the $78,000 range. This would attract, I believe, somebody that's a little bit higher. And so the number that I used in kind of my calculations was $100,000. I actually think that generally people, if they're two income earners, would be significantly more than that. I think the type of people that would buy these homes, again, I use an example of someone that moved in from out of town, a professional and a worker that moved into town into a home in Hayden's Place recently at a $380,000 home. They had been looking for well over a year, and so I think it will hit a market that we need.
One of the things to consider too, Kurt, is the fact that, and you're aware of this, I mean, we are prevented from pursuing certain grants because of our household median income within Kingfisher.
So we want people with more money.
Not saying that at all. I think you're
I'm trying to
taking this
figure it out.
down a track that maybe it's not necessary to take it down. What I'm saying is is that the median income is higher, specifically in the northern Oklahoma. So I guess his point he's trying to make is that it fits the bill of what's being requested.
Right.
There's also, I mean, I've heard multiple business owners state the fact that they can't attract people because of available houses. And there are many of these folks ask employees to come to work, whatever the case may be, that may have to live in Cashion or somewhere else, but they need these folks, and that's preventing us from moving forward there. So I appreciate that. Any other questions of Mr.
So
Baldwin?
at least they would be able to pay our hiked electrical bills and, I guess, offset some of this, so that would work. I guess
Or-
they would be making,
Or elevated.
they'd be making a nice amount of money
Does
where they
King-
don't pay their utilities.
We don't have
Kingfisher,
elevated
as somebody who
electric
left Kingfisher, Kingfisher has extremely reasonable electrical bills. I wish that I still had
No, yeah, I
Kingfisher's
just
bill.
meant that
We
while
have
we're
adjusted
hiking them
those.
and adjusting them,
We've adjusted
then
them, but we're not-
attracting
We're
households.
still
that will-
lower than everybody
Yeah,
else
to pay
around
that.
here.
It's a very, very
That'll
affordable.
work, is what I'm saying. We'll be attracting people that'll be able to pay that and cover it.
Certainly, I know that there are 4 employees at our company that live in Piedmont because they cannot find quality housing that this would fit the bill for, that are instead living in Piedmont.
So that works, trade-off.
Any other questions?
Anybody else speaking, or are we done?
No, we are,
I would like to speak
not that I'm aware of.
as a building inspector.
As far as this item specifically,
Yeah, that's something that I've been tasked with since I've been here.
I wasn't told you were wanting to speak, so, yeah, I think we're gonna move on. Do we have a motion?
Can I say something?
Yeah, for sure.
I just want to say that I think it is fair, I've been more removed from the situation since coming on the council more recently. And I think it's fair to say both the city and Mike, or the Matthews Group, both share in how the situation unfolded. And I think there's all things we can learn from it. And when it comes down to it, it seems like all a lack of communication.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got, and I put on my project manager hat because that's what I do in my real job. And it's just the lack of communication. To me, I think we all can do better. And I know we've definitely discussed things on the city side where we definitely can do better. And I think taking out the emotional piece and allowing us to see this is awesome. This is awesome, having 77 houses that are going to provide a need in this housing range that is scarce in town. And so I also applaud that. At the same time, there are rules to be followed as well. And so I think, to me, this is a joint effort where we both realized, let's come together, and I think we both will do a better job in communicating to each other.
On that, I would like to hear what Linda has to say, since we're
Well, okay,
engaged in communication.
it's fine by me. What, Linda, you wanna come to the podium? So just to clarify, you weren't here when this first initiated, or you were not,
No.
correct?
No, I was not here when the development started.
Okay,
I was told that my predecessor had okayed the waiver of payment. I asked for documentation, there was none provided. I think it's important to, again, this is coming from my planning background. 2018 laws changed to, again, avoid the appearance of favoring developers and to basically subsidize development by pushing off those costs onto everybody else in the community. And so when we give things to people and they do not pay for them outright, we are in effect causing the rest of the citizens to subsidize their profits. So I think it was misrepresentation when somebody said that they were unaware of it. It was one of many misrepresentations that came to me about the relationship and the understanding of what was due. anybody going and developing any property, say with Cimarron, for example, does not expect Cimarron to put it up for free. But somehow we allowed that for many years and finally course corrected 7 years ago, right? Unfortunately, we don't do enough development here. I just spent quite a bit of time doing certificate of occupancy inspections for the development that we have off of 13th Street. So they're coming. And these people did not come out of the goodness of their heart to develop here in the city. They came because they can make a profit. It's not a big profit, but they're not coming here to do charity work.
Would you not agree, though, just out of curiosity, I mean, obviously that ordinance allows for the city commission to waive that in a private-public partnership, right? If, in fact, the overall good outweighs the costs of that.
Right.
The potential overall good as to.
Right.
Would you agree with that or not?
Yes, and we do need more houses. We need more rooftops because more rooftops bring in more development. But as we know, we do not get money for property taxes. We're not going to have a net gain. We might get the people that are building, using our restaurants. We might get a little bit towards our construction companies.
What about the sales tax on construction materials?
Very little of that tends to come from, unfortunately, Kingfisher. Most of that is brought in from, my experience is brought in from Oklahoma City, where they can buy in volume.
If it's delivered to the site, though, it's based upon where it's delivered to.
There is going to be some of that, but we know that it's going to take a dozen years or more to recoup what we would be subsidizing this development. And so
And I think comparing to Cimarron is not quite apple to apple, because Cimarron really has no sales tax to collect from investing in something like this.
right, and we're going to have very little sales tax. I mean, this is not, other than some, like I said, some people frequenting our restaurants or some of the things that are delivered here, you're not going to see a big boom. And then the utilities that we're going to have to pay for, like I said, probably close to a dozen years
So
before you start to recoup the cost that
I
we're
get it.
subsidizing.
I guess you have sales tax of people that move into those homes, right? They're gonna buy stuff here, they're gonna buy stuff there.
Sure.
There's a lot of things to consider regarding this.
Absolutely.
And so, anything else that you
Well,
have?
just like I said, just like this other developer that we're getting ready to finish these 20 homes, they're not here because they're not making a profit. They're not here because they're community members that are investing. We're here because of recall threats and for lawsuits.
I don't think that's the case. I think you're misrepresenting that, but
Okay.
I will.
with you, though.
I do not agree with you. The other thing I would say too, in regards to the development that you were talking, we did do a public-private partnership in order to achieve what we desired as far as drainage goes, right? We bought a lot.
You're speaking of in Montevita.
And
That's correct.
absolutely,
So
we
there was-
tried very hard to be fair, because when this was developed about a dozen years ago, there was a little bit of conflict of interest of who owned that
Yeah,
development.
and that's off topic, but I was just saying there's precedence there.
To be fair,
Right.
absolutely, we want to encourage development. We want to bring them in, but we want to not do so under threat, and we don't want to do so when we're subsidizing somebody else's property.
We want to do what's right.
Let's
just
move
for the
on. Do
sake- we want to do what's right just for the sake of doing what's right. So thank you, Linda, for
Okay.
coming and speaking.
Thank you.
Because I totally do agree with what you're saying.
Do we have a motion?
Because meanwhile, we don't give this subsidy to people who can't pay their light bill, who come in and say they didn't know that the rates went up. We don't give this subsidy to people who maybe they felt bad about something, just regular citizens that are flipping our infrastructure,
So-
that are flipping our fire station, that
Would
are
love to
flipping
have
all
a
that stuff.
conversation about that because,
So-
I mean, there is millions invested already in this development. So when you're trying to compare those things, not
just
really
think-
apples to apples again.
It's none of it's apple to apple. Neither is the comparison of the businesses who do this same thing for those people that they do developments. Because
Okay.
I've been given that from you. I got it from other members of the community that were like, well, this business does it. This business does it. Well, that business is not even equal to us. again, when she used the example of some of the same businesses, that's not apples to apples. None of it's apples to apples.
Okay.
Point is, Linda's one voice, I'm one voice. Decisions already been made behind the closed doors. It's gonna be what it's gonna be, but it's just, we should do what's right just for the sake of doing what's right. And
You want to clarify that or not?
Yeah, clarify that for me, Commissioner.
that there were decisions made for this special meeting, right? Immediately, within quick response to, as she mentioned, a threat or a thought of a threat or a thought of something that's going to look bad or be bad or, oh, boogeyman or something of that nature. And there were things that people already had in place. There's ordinances for a reason. There's things for a reason. You don't go tell everybody, every person that builds or does a business, like, here's what the ordinance are, here's what you need to do. Every time something changes, you're not running out and telling them, because it's on their responsibility and accountability to know where they build, what is due. It's on their responsibility, not our responsibility. But now somehow, all of a sudden, now we've changed that story of like, well, because you didn't know, which and Mike, this has nothing to do with you, and I hope you know that this has nothing to do with you. It is not personal at all. Because again, that I've mentioned to anyone who has talked to me, it is not about the person. It is not about your character. It's not about what I feel about you, or if we hang out and play golf or something. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with treat everyone accordingly, because there's ordinances and rules for a reason, so that everybody can follow and know exactly what they're expected to do. I understand that there's a part in there that states, if we thought that this was something that would be profitable, that would make sense for us as a business-wise or whatever, as a move that was good for our community, then we would just, let's waive that because this is a good investment. But you see, that same little stipulation was still there when we made the decision not to do this. When we made the decision to charge the bill, that same stipulation was still in there, yet nobody thought that stipulation mattered then. But now all of a sudden, it does. And so I do think that there were decisions, there were conversations that happened outside of all of us being privy to it, and that there was already a move of what was going to happen. There was already a recommendation in place. I noticed there's people that's not even here for the meeting. There was already a move of like, this is what's best, because we want to shirk and shrink from doing what's right for the sake of doing what's right.
Jim wants to speak. Jim wants to talk.
Okay. I don't know that,
Jim, are you there? Jim? Hello.
He said he wanted to say something.
Jim, you're on mute if we can't hear you. So the city manager's on the phone. He was unable to be here.
I'm sorry. I just took myself off mute.
All right, go for it, Jim.
Okay. I made the recommendation. I made the statement. I wanted that thing on the agenda. I weighed the pros and cons of all the information I've been gathering, because I wasn't there in 2018. I've talked to the previous city manager. I've talked to the previous employees that were responsible for ensuring that there was clear communication between the developer and the city, and we failed. We failed miserably, and I made the determination by myself. Were there conversations, Commissioner Taylor? There were, but there was no secret quorum, no secret meeting. There was no cigars smoking going on.
Nobody's saying there were secret meetings, Jim. Nobody's saying there were secret meetings. There was just, I referenced the fact that there was meetings and that there was a decision made for whatever was going to take place already because of the fact that people were feeling the pressure. So this is not an insult to anybody's character. This is not saying that you did something out of place or that was wrong. It's admirable that you would stand up and say and ask people for forgiveness and say you did wrong and you didn't know any better. And I understand our administration before we got here was doing some shady stuff, straight up and down. But that doesn't mean you keep on doing what they was doing just to cover up what they did do. And then we pick up from, and then what? The next 15 years, somebody got to pick up from what we decided to do now? Again, I'm one opinion.
I appreciate it, Commissioner, and I'm telling you, in my professional opinion of serving as a city manager for over 30 years, representing 8 communities, including Kingfisher, I weighed everything. And I felt as though the blood and treasure it would have cost the city of Kingfisher to resolve this thing, and the years of legal battles and depositions would have done more harm to the good people of Kingfisher and to this good city council.
That's what you, and that's what you're supposed to do, Jim, so we appreciate that. That is exactly what you're supposed to do. So I ain't got no qualms with you. I ain't got no qualms with nobody. I'm just stating the fact. And again, I'm just one opinion.
Okay, so for the record, I was not made aware of section B of the ordinance. We have talked about the ordinance loosely at this table.
We all have the option of looking at
I know.
ordinances
I take
anytime we want to.
responsibility.
It's
I
public
did not
record.
look it up when I was told about the ordinance. I should have looked it up months ago. I was not here when this thing was brought forth in the beginning. This is the first time any agenda item has been brought forth to us in regard to this. So with I feel the city of Kingfisher will have a significant economic impact positively due to sales tax. When this is all said and done, smoke is settled, 77 homes are built. The sales tax alone will be beneficial to city of Kingfisher. We're going through our CIP right now, capital improvement plan. We have a lot of infrastructure to maintain, a lot of stuff to do. We need some more income. This is unfortunate at this time that we're dealing with this cost right now, but with that said, I will motion to approve the waiver of the electric distribution system at Hannah's Place in accordance to section 12.4.11, section B, which allows us to waive this.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Don't look over here. You know it ain't coming from down here.
Have a motion and a second.
Dawn,
Nay.
That motion carries. Item C is approved. No other items on the agenda. Do we have a motion for adjournment?
Now you can look down here. I make a motion, we adjourn.
Have a motion? Second.
I did.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
You ready for my vote?
Yeah.
Hey!
All right, Jim, I'm gonna hang up on you.
Yeah, right? Bye, Jim, enjoy your time.
We are adjourned.